You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Next week, the House Judiciary Subcommittee on the Constitution, Civil Rights and Civil Liberties is set to hear testimony on a reparations bill. Last month, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee announced the bill titled H.R. 40, which will be reintroduced in order to create the Reparations Commission. The commission will study the history of slavery, the role federal and state governments played in supporting slavery, and racial discrimination against the descendants of enslaved Africans. Lee says the commission would make recommendations for any form of apology, compensation, and atonement for slavery. She believes economic issues are the root cause for many critical issues impacting the African-American community today. And so that's going to come before the committee next week. Let's go our panel on this one. Greg, here's what's interesting. Yeah, we were talking yesterday, and I was dealing with some folks on this, and when we had Ron, actually a few days ago, when we had Ron Busby on, and I made the point because what happens is it's a bunch of folks out here, they're posting stuff, they're like, Biden signed an executive order specifically for Asians. Where's our black-specific executive order? And they're trying to walk folks through that, trying to get them to understand exactly what the executive order is. Then Talbert, I forgot his last name, he posted something saying, criticizing me when I talked about race-specific remedies. And so he then throws out, well, the Japanese got these $20,000 checks for internment camps. And I said, well, that was a very specific law for a specific incident, and that was a specific remedy for that. I had to then these people try and tell me, well, no, but it never happened with black people. Well, actually, the black farmer settlement is an example of a specific remedy for a specific group. One of the things that I was talking to a lawyer who supports reparations, he says that he believes a stronger argument for African Americans is to use the Jim Crow laws of redlining in federal housing policy, because there are African Americans who are still living who were impacted by that. And that's actually in terms of you're making an argument to create legal redress, as opposed to the argument of slavery coming forward. Your thoughts?
I think we have to start with having a basic understanding of the long struggle for reparations in this country. It begins, ironically, with the theft of Africans to this country. The case of the Amistad being one of the, most prominent cases, but certainly not the only one. When Dred and Harriet Scott sue for their freedom, there's a reparations element in the legal argument they're making. And during the Civil War in Davis Bend, Mississippi, in the Sea Islands of South Carolina, which is where we get the concept of 40 acres and a mule, Field Orders 15 in both of those states, there was the attempt by some of the military to take the land that was confiscated from the traders to the federal government and give it to the formerly enslaved as a form of reparations, and thereby create an invested class of new citizens in the South. That was the moment the United States lost the possibility to be anything other than what it is now, which is a deteriorating, failing state. The concept of reparations and legal arguments for it go back right after the Civil War to Callie House and the ex-slave mutual pension relief fund, where you had those who said, I was enslaved and I need reparations. Those who are arguing that there's a legal strategy and that it should depend on those who incurred harm are either not aware of the fact that those arguments have been made and dismissed over the years, or they are arguing in bad faith or ignorance. They just don't know. I'm saying all that to say this as a prelude. The question of reparations, and by the way, the shift in H.R. 40 from the years that Congressman Conyers introduced it every session, except the session when Barack Obama was president and they had both houses. And, as far as folks who say, this is why you don't make politicians your friends. They may look like you. You may have pride in them. But please understand, politicians do whatever the hell is in their best interest. The change in H.R. 40 now with Sheila Jackson Lee and the one that Congressman Conyers introduced year after year is that it's going to make recommendations. That's the major change. And as someone who has been a member of the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America now for over 20 years, my dear friends Mashariki and Kamal Jawanza in Indianapolis, Mashariki is the female co-chair. The male co-chair, Cam Howard, will be testifying next week, a week from I guess today. Understand that this reparations argument is one that is political, it's cultural, and it will be won or lost, not in a courtroom or one specific courtroom or one piece of policy. It will be won as this country concedes to try to remain a country. And this is why I'm trying, and let me be a little bit more specific about this. It's a very important book by Catherine Franke, who's a professor in the law school at Columbia. It's called Repair. She's a white woman, and she says, the missed opportunity to redistribute wealth in this country, which really is not organized around cash money, but property. See, that's why the thing that happened in the wake of the Civil War is so important. If they had transferred that property instead of giving it back to the plantation owners, you know, they went so far, the federal government, to track down the descendants of those who own those plantations and compensate them for the land that had been redistributed. If they had done that, we wouldn't be faced with this now. What Franke says is, and this is why the reparations bill is so important, because it's just to build a study and make recommendations. What if you had a heavy investment in community land trusts, community ownership, in other words, a shifting of fundamental nature of the economy of this country to deal specifically as a remedy in terms of race? What if there were a generational tax imposed on those who, by virtue of the fact that they are white, inherited a status? See, this is where we don't get into this ADOS foolishness. Everybody slow down, okay? Because it isn't just about who was enslaved. It's about now what attaches to blackness as a consequence of enslavement. So I don't care where you come from in the world.
Greg,
of America, blackness attaches to you as a form of stigma.
Greg, the ADOS and the foundational black people going to be upset with you.
All of you. I want all of the smoke. Because it's baby smoke, number one. And number two, I'm a descendant of those who was enslaved. And number three, bring your best in fact, bring them all. In the words of William Rakim Griffith, I take 7 MCs, put them in a line, and then find 7 more brothers who think they can rhyme. Then find 7 more before I go for mine. And that's 21 MCs. 8 up. At the same time. So the point is that, because when you see this, you understand is, there's no argument against reparations except you don't want your country to continue. And so the bottom line, Franke says, is, she says, I'm a white woman. My people came here from somewhere else. But when I came here, I inherited whiteness. And so as a consequence, my family was able to make some wealth. In the wealth transfer, I'm open to perhaps a 5% tax on people above a certain inheritance, and that money then go to community land trusts, health care, these kind of things, which are then targeted to these communities that have suffered generationally as a consequence. And I'm saying that that's not just reparations for black people, that's giving your little ass country a chance to survive, because if you don't remedy this, it's over, baby. It's not going to last another century, because we're going to take it. We're going to take it. And we're not going to take it from Washington, D.C. We're going to take it from Atlanta and Detroit. We're going to take it from Mississippi and Birmingham. We're going to take it from Nashville and Memphis. We're going to take it, in other words, for all those places that very shortly will be majority non-white. And there'll never be another Coach Tuberville reduced to being introduced to the United States Senate, because Alabama's going another way. And it ain't red and it ain't blue. It's black. Wait for it.
Somebody just sent me a text and they said, please tell Greg I will break him off a piece for that.
Put some content, Aaron. Set it up on your channel. It's gonna be some embarrassment.
That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying. And don't forget, Erica, my boy is with me right here.
Oop. Oop, don't do it. Erica,
Your boy.
Erica.
You know what?
I'm just saying. I'm saying, since folks want to break Greg off a piece, I just want to go ahead and just cite that there. Bottom line here is that the thing here, Erica.
Yeah.
The thing here, Erica, is interesting because Greg called out the ADOS FBA people. And I love it when they try to come at me, because they like, because you said reparation was a pipe dream a few years ago. I was like, yeah, because I don't trust white America. I said, I don't. I said, I don't trust. I said, show me 218 votes in the House. Show me 60 in the Senate. I said, I don't. If I didn't trust, I wasn't even here. If white folks didn't, if these folks did not give reparations 40 acres and a mule back then and going through now, look, we sure know how they feel right now. So this is what I said. I said, I can make an argument for reparations. I said, I can walk through the text. I can break it all down, give it all. I said, I'm talking about what the end result is. I don't trust they are going to do it. But what I'm going to do, and see, this is the difference that people don't understand. See, I've had Cobra and others on my shows, have talked to folks, ain't got no problem whatsoever. But what I'm also going to do is, while they have made that their focus, I'm going for the existing money right now.
Right.
See, there are, as the sister said yesterday, the federal government spends a budget of $4.4 trillion annual budget. She's talking about what they're spending right now. I'm also going after what they're spending right now. See, you can do both. If you want to make reparations your focus, good. If I'm making this my focus, good. I'm going after the money. But I'm understanding that to get that money requires a whole different game plan than what I'm talking about, because that money, you got to get 218 in the House, 60 in the Senate, and a president who's going to sign it, and it has to withstand a judicial challenge. The problem, Erica, is you got all of these punk-ass YouTube historians with no credentials feeding people simpleton information and not walking them through the nuance and the reality and the facts on this issue.
Right, because who is Nuance? Where does she live? What school did she go to? When you're talking about, this is a whole platform that's dedicated to educating, and that the host himself is very much so versed because this is his vocation. You know, Dr. Carr just walked us through it, and so an amen to that. And then the other piece that I would also challenge is that, you know, going back to the keyboard coward stuff, I'm going to put my trust, I'm going to put a level of, you have my ear, I am listening to you, to a Dr. Greg Carr, who is not only a scholar and one of our luminaries of this time, but it is actually committed to reparations by representation of being a part of this commission for well over 20 years. So that's where I'm going to put my stock and grade in. As it relates to this country, you know, we've not even had the courage to have the truth commissions that we have seen other nations do,
right.
Namely Rwanda and other countries in Germany. So when we think about what it will take to actually make this alive, we have to also say, then what has America been willing to do as it concerns their own soil, their domestic soil, as it relates to the genocide of Native Americans and the torture, killing, and enslavement of Black people. So for people that are really looking to actually be connected, studied in this, go to people who actually have scholarship and have actually researched and have studied in it. I'm going to be more apt to listen to a Dr. Greg Carr than, you know, the advent of Twitter and everybody who's an expert on reparations.
See, the reason, and I love the people who ask like some dude, he goes, see, this why I don't support this show, but your ass watching.
Come through.
We're hot tonight, man. Y'all, every week.
But you watching. So really what you doing is you freeloading.
Right.
Oh.
Come on.
Hello.
You want to come here and soak up all that we given, but then you want somebody else to contribute to the building fund. See, the thing here that I lay out here, Reese, again, I'm talking about what are undeniable facts. When people sit here and yell, I support reparations, I then ask, what you doing?
What you doing?
What are you doing? How are you moving towards 218? Because, see, for the people who don't know nothing, the Constitution stipulates where any bill that involves money starts.
Mm-hmm.
Do your YouTube historians know that?
Come on.
The Constitution stipulates any bill that deals with money starts in the House.
That's right.
It's so you can't even see when y'all were yelling, Senator Kamala Harris, what's that? You can't get to the Senate until you deal with the House.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Which means you got to get 218 in the House. So if you are doing nothing to get to 218, all you doing is running your mouth.
That's right.
Hello.
Reese, the folk who hollering, where Biden on this? Biden is third in the process.
Right.
There's the House. There's the Senate. If it passes the House, passes the Senate, it goes to the White House.
Right.
So if you ain't focused on the 218,
That's right.
then what you doing? All you doing is running your mouth. Reese, go ahead.
That's right.
And here's the ironic part. I mean, in the last session of Congress, the HR 40 Commission had the most number of co-sponsors that had ever been on that bill. It was 173 co-sponsors. And what did certain groups do? People like Ice Cube, they attacked the supporters of HR 40 Commission. They attacked Sheila Jackson Lee over it. I did a search to see how often are these folks that are so pro-reparations saying any of this stuff about tangibles, Black agenda vote, we want reparations. How often are they actually approaching Mitch McConnell or Kevin McCarthy about this? I didn't find hardly any mentions of it. And so if you want something to happen, instead of attacking, which is a commission. By the way, when that commission passed in California, these same people were celebrating Ice Cube, and Ice Cube got us reparations commissions in California. But then at the federal level, and I compared the legislative text, there's hardly any difference. But all of a sudden, when it comes to the federal level, when it comes to attacking the conscience of the Congress, which is the Congressional Black Caucus, which has been behind this for decades, now all of a sudden it's not good enough. Now all of a sudden they're selling out the Black community. Now all of a sudden all the smoke is for the people who signed on instead of getting to 218, like you said, Roland. So it doesn't make any sense, the approach in which is to attack the co-sponsors, to attack Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, which, by the way, they said wasn't an American descendant of slaves, so she shouldn't have been introducing the reparations bill, which makes no sense. Why are you attacking her? She's the sponsor of it. And the other part I want to mention is that one thing we have to do, reparations absolutely needs to happen. I think this commission needs to happen. But one thing that gets lost, and to your point, Roland, what do we have now? How do we get a piece of that pie? Is the repair part. And Dr. Carr really laid out so many examples of repair. The way that we repair is through things like home ownership. And I remember during the primaries when Senator Kamala Harris put forth $100 billion home ownership gap plan. Now, as a lot of people don't understand, you cannot have race-specific quotas in the federal government. You just cannot do that. There are very limited circumstances in which that's allowed. So what VP Kamala Harris suggested back then was, let's tailor it. Let's have the language so that it's targeting the red line communities, the people that are still there. They had to be there. It couldn't be gentrifiers like Trump's opportunity zones. And it was $100 billion investment, which would have closed the home ownership gap between Black homeowners and white homeowners. And they said, well, it's not just only Black people. So that's where we outsmart ourselves, because we have to have the word Black in front of it, when the word Black in front of it makes it unconstitutional and completely unlikely for it to even withstand a Supreme Court or even Circuit Court challenge. And so when we want to look at reparations, we look at the reparations bill, yes, which the commission in theory would find ways around all these damn laws that they pass or recommend new laws being passed. But let's also focus on the repair part of what needs to happen in our society and embrace that and say and recognize where we're disproportionately targeted in a negative way and how we can also disproportionately benefit. And when somebody is trying to put forth solutions that will disproportionately impact our community in a positive way, let's get behind that instead of saying it's not Black enough or it's only for Black people.
But
we still can at getting a piece of the pie.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have, you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it. Please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.